Back for his church. The Bible says in Matthew chapter 24 verse 42, watch therefore, for you do not know the hour your Lord is coming. I want you to know, church, that Jesus Christ could come this month, or he might come next week, or he could even come...
Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Israel may find itself heading to another round of national parliamentary elections after coalition negotiations appear to be deadlocked, with less than 36 hours to go until the legal deadline for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to present his new government to President Reuven Rivlin. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised Israel's police and fire and rescue authorities for successfully managing to battle more than 1,000 blazes that raged this past week nationwide. The United States announced its plan to deploy 1,500 additional forces to the Middle East as part of Washington's ongoing efforts to deter the Islamic Republic of Iran. Israel may find itself heading to another round of national parliamentary elections that after coalition negotiations appear to be deadlocked, with less than 36 hours to go until the legal deadline for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to present his new government to President Reuven Rivlin. The deadlock revolves around fundamental disagreements between Netanyahu's would-be coalition partners, particularly the ultra-Orthodox factions United Torah Judaism and Shas, and the secular right Yisrael Beitenu party. The reported dispute pertains to a controversial military draft law, which demands conscription to all of Israel's citizens, including ultra-Orthodox seminary students who, under the current legal arrangement, may delay their service if they declare that Torah study is their profession. While the ultra-Orthodox factions actively aspire to evade military conscription for seminary students altogether, a bipartisan consensus among Israel's secular parties demand an equal sharing of the so-called military burden. That is why Israel Beitenu party chairman Avigdor Lieberman vowed to reject all compromises pertaining to a previously proposed military draft bill that sought to enlist into the Israel Defense Forces a majority of the country's ultra-Orthodox seminary students.
אני עושה עכשיו מאמץ אחרון להקים ממשלת ימין ולמנוע בחירות מיותרות. אני הנחתי בפני השותפים הצעה לפתרון. הוא מבוסס על העקרונות שהצבא קבע, הנתונים שהצבא קבע. אין שום סיבה לדחות את זה. אני הולך להזמין הערב את כל ראשי המפלגות, אני רוצה לדבר איתם ולנסות ביחד למנוע בחירות מיותרות.
A senior political source who is familiar with the ongoing coalition negotiations insisted that while disagreements surrounding the military draft law persist, the true crisis pertains to Jerusalem's defense policy in general and vis-a-vis the Gaza Strip in particular. The source, who requested to remain anonymous as he was not permitted to officially speak on the matter, told TV7 that the real dispute pertains to Lieberman's demand to receive complete authority over Jerusalem's defense policy and conduct. Contrary to his previous term as Israel's top defense official, Lieberman, who was offered by Netanyahu the portfolio of defense minister once again, demands all executive powers connected to the ministerial position, with the apparent aim of adopting a more unyielding position against terror that emanates from the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip. The political source explained that Lieberman could not agree to a scenario in which rocket fire would be met with more Israeli concessions to Gazan terror groups, an unacceptable recurring cycle that has inflicted much misery and pain, particularly on the southern communities of Israel. Now in other news, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised Israel's police and fire and rescue authorities for successfully managing to battle more than 1,000 blazes that raged this past week nationwide. Some 50 homes and almost 8,000 dunams of forests, equal to a little under 2,000 acres, were destroyed within a period of 41 hours. Thankfully, no fatalities were reported, but 16 people suffered from smoke inhalation, and 13 of the more than 1,000 firefighters who battled the flames were lightly injured.
קודם כל אני מבקש לשבח את לוחמי האש, השוטרים, הטייסים וכל כוחות הביטחון שפעלו ביומיים האחרונים לכבות את השרפות ולהציל חיים.
Thousands of Israelis were evacuated from their homes during the inferno, which coincided with a scorching heat wave that in some areas reached higher than 48 degrees Celsius, which is equal to 118 degrees Fahrenheit. 12 local firefighting tankers were deployed during the mission, assisted by a fleet of unmanned aerial vehicles. After an emergency briefing with the National Security Council and Public Security Minister Gilad Erdan, Prime Minister Netanyahu issued a call for international assistance. The countries that answered the call included Egypt, Cyprus, Greece, Italy, and Croatia. The Israeli leader expressed his deep appreciation to those countries, in particular signaling out Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Netanyahu also voiced his gratitude for the readiness of other neighbors to help Israel in a time of crisis, just as Jerusalem helped them, which he said included offers of practical aid from Russia and the Palestinian Authority. Meanwhile, an official investigation into the multiple fires has been launched, with the National Fire and Rescue Authority indicating that the loss of 40 homes at the community of Mevo Modi'im may have been the result of a deliberate arson. According to initial findings, the flames originated at several different locations, which may allude to orchestrated arson. Furthermore, the Israel Electric Corporation is probing reports that dozens of homes in the south of the country may have been damaged by a power cable failure, and the defense establishment is trying to ascertain whether other fires were ignited by incendiary kites and balloons flown into Israel from the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip. In addition to that, 3 Arab residents of Jerusalem have been arrested on suspicion of arson. Meanwhile, communities are pulling together to offer humanitarian support to those left without homes, and the government has vowed to help with recovery efforts.
ביקשתי גם להיות מעודכן באופן אישי על מהלכי השיקום. ראיתם את הבתים, את האנשים, באמת זה קורע הלב לראות אנשים שהבית שלהם נשרף כליל, ואנחנו נעזור בכל דרך כדי לשקם את המקומות שנפגעו.
Now to Washington, where U.S. President Donald Trump declared a national emergency with the Islamic Republic of Iran, a decision that effectively bypasses congressional opposition to complete the sale of over $8 billion worth of weapons to Tehran's regional rivals, including Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. The White House alerted congressional committees of its intent on Friday to proceed with 22 military sales, including precision-guided weapons, support for F-15 fighter jets, and anti-tank missiles. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo underlined in a statement that America's partners in the Middle East need the weapons to help deter Iran, and that the decision to go around Congress was meant to be a one-time event. Furthermore, the Trump administration announced plans to deploy 1,500 additional troops to the region. The bolstered U.S. presence follows the previous expedited deployment of the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier, together with the Kearsarge Amphibious Ready Group and the 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit, and is set to include personnel manning missile defense systems, aerial surveillance to spot threats, and engineers to fortify defenses. It will also include an additional squadron of advanced fighter jets. Meanwhile, in Baghdad, Iranian Foreign Minister Muhammad Javad Zarif vowed that the Islamic Republic will defend itself against any military or economic aggression. In a joint press conference alongside his Iraqi counterpart, Mohammed El-Hakim, the Iranian top diplomat asserted that if the Iranian people are victimized, the Ayatollah regime will respond with strength and resistance.
ما همزمان با هر گونه تلاشی برای جنگ، چه جنگ نظامی چه جنگ اقتصادی علیه مردم ایران با قدرت و با استقامت مقابله خواهیم کرد.
Minister Zarif also sought to reassure Iran's neighbors of Tehran's intentions, suggesting a non-aggression pact that the Islamic Republic hopes will alleviate growing regional concerns.
پیشنهادهای متعددی رو جمهوری اسلامی برای گفتگو و همکاری و حتی انعقاد توافق عدم تجاوز با همه کشورهای حوزه خلیج فارس مطرح کرده و این پیشنهادات کماکان روی میز است.
Thank you for watching us. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of our partners for your continued dedicated monthly support, as your donations and prayer make the productions of TV7 Israel News in Jerusalem studio possible. I'm Jonathan Hassan. Have a Erev Tov and Shavua Tov. Keep praying for the peace of Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time.